So thanks to him, we are able to do the program here.
In serving Indian patients with high technology diagnosis, which then was not affordable and accessible, particularly in interior India. How these innovative Indian solutions were taken globally, making India the healthcare hub, which Professor D'Souza just now talked about. The second part, I would follow this with how any organization can build an innovation culture to achieve big aspirational goals. Because it's not only nice to hear about a success story, but it's also equally important to convey from those principles, how do you build innovation culture in any other organization? So these are two parts of my talk. Hopefully I will take about 40-45 minutes for the first part and 15-20 minutes for the second part. So let me start with about a decade of this evolution from 1989 to 2000. That's the period I'm going to talk in the first part. I was selected the first CEO of GE joint venture with Wipro. This is for medical system, GE medical system. At my interview, John Trani, global CEO of GE medical business, conveyed his expectations from me in simple terms. He said from number 6 in the Indian market, become number 1 or number 2 in 5 years, ethically. I was floating in the cloud and walking out of the interview room when he called me back and said, if I could achieve it profitably and in less than 5 years, it would be fantastic. This was his way of giving me a stretch goal in addition to the target. So what was the situation in the Indian market then? Siemens was the market leader in India, followed by Philips, Toshiba. GE market share was only 5%. And to be number 1 or number 2 meant that you have to have 20 to 30% market share. GE's low market share was due to its absence in the high technology scanners like CT scanners, MR scanners, and ultrasound. So winning high technology scanners was essential for GE to get leadership. GE was willing to break into the market by offering the equipment at a little competitive price, 10 to 15% less than competition, so that you get some entry. Not only that, GE was open to manufacture the product, transfer technology in India. So these were some, and that to make CT scanners in India, it was very sophisticated equipment. And in those days, for example, an MRI machine would cost 5 crores. A CT scanner would cost between 1.5 to 2 crores. So these are high ticket items, and to make in India, there must be enough numbers. So let us look at the customer side. Advanced diagnosis using CT and MR was available in government super specialty hospitals or in leading private hospitals. And mostly these private hospitals were charitable hospitals, like Hinduja Hospital or Birla Hospital and the like. So primarily, these were in metros, where some upper middle class patients could afford these high expensive scans to correctly diagnose what was ailing them. Hospitals bought not an investment viability. What I mean by investment viability is that if I'm investing 1.5 to 2 crores in a CT scanner, will the income from that scanner repay the investment cost over 5 years or 6 years? That is investment viability. And it was not bought on that basis. It was bought more on the basis of budgets and grants being given by this charitable trust to the hospital with no clear expectation of return on investment or return on the investment made. So those were the days in the country with high income tax rates. Marginal income tax rate was 75 or 80%. The custom duty on this equipment was 100%. And and there were licenses required to import. To lower the investment cost, buyers were asking companies to under-invoice import so that the custom duty is less. They would request, can we make part payment in cash? So that, in the hospitals, it's a cash business. They didn't want to pay 75% income tax. So by asking these big investments to be partly paid in cash, they thought that they could save income tax and the like. And there were, commissions to be paid to get the license permits and the like. And not only that, even the people who used to recommend, who were doctors, often expected some goodies, including some commissions, to recommend that you buy this company equipment or that company. So, and the equipment were bought on specifications. The higher the specs, it was sold, the concept was sold that higher the quality, higher the performance. It was not related to clinical benefit the patient gets. So this is the type of environment in which we had to operate. And of course, not that everything was bad or anything. Siemens and Philips had established a strong service reputation that they can install sophisticated medical equipment, they can commission it, they can service it, they can maintain it. And that was extremely important for hospitals because if those equipment are down, a lot of patients suffer. So, on the other hand, we wanted to sell on investment viability, competitive price, and the commercial transaction being clean. If you recall, I told you that John Tanney had told me that you have to become number one or number two in 5 years ethically. So there was no question of any commercial so-called, the customers were putting it in nice words. You should be commercially flexible. So we could not have any commercial flexibility in the transaction. So and second, as I told you, the Wipro G, which was new to this high-end scanners in India, had to establish technical credibility that it can install, service, maintain, operate, help operate the hospitals, this sophisticated equipment, because there was not examples of that, of GE doing that in India. So for the Indian team to quickly break into the market, we listed 25 prospects likely to buy either an MR or a CT in the next 12 months in India. Now, since we wanted to get the orders ethically, we had to do market segmentation. We're all taught in all business schools that do market segmentation. And we did the market segmentation on ethics. That is, which are those customers in this 25 who have a transparent buying process, who are known for buying without any monkey tricks in the purchase. And we could get perhaps 5 out of 25 who could do this. And we thought that first we should focus on those customers and win, to demonstrate both to the Indian customers that we can win and install and commission, and also to GE that we can win at least those prospects which are clean ethically. So, in order to do this, we employed a person by name Sahu, who was Vice President Service in Siemens. Hospitals don't want to see salespeople, but they open the door immediately for service people, because service people make the equipment run for years, whereas salespeople come for transaction, by the purchase transaction. So Sahu had a great reputation. He knew the customers. More than anything else, he was a leader who could instill a mindset in his team that nothing is impossible. What was meant by nothing is impossible is that no technical challenge in front of you is impossible to solve. So you have to go with that mindset and solve the technical problems, and the organization will support you. So I will give you the example of two customers as to clearly communicate this to you. The first customer I'm talking about is a private customer called Bombay Hospital. Bombay Hospital is run by Birlas. It is a multi-story, 15-story hospital in the south of Bombay. highly reputed for its clinical outcomes and also highly reputed for the ethical way in which they buy. Just transparent. The comparative statements are put on the notice board, and the process is clearly communicated to people. So we said we will attack this prospect first. And we found to our surprise that competition was not very active there. So when we tried to understand why the competition is not so active, we found that there are serious technical challenges there. Now, this was already a busy hospital with a lot of sophisticated equipment. And what Bombay Hospital had given was a very tight space surrounded by other medical equipment. And on top of that space was the parking lot. And if we had to put an MR there, it would magnetize everything and nothing would work. And to fit an MR in this space, there was no clear technical solution. That's why competition was hesitant to aggressively bid and compete here. So Sahu and his team took on this challenge. They searched for, is there any solution for this in India? They could not find, but globally they could find a solution in Los Angeles that in addition to, MR magnets use superconducting helium at minus 269 degrees centigrade. And they emit very strong magnetic waves. And so they're shielded, self-shielded with a big shield from the factory. So the solution these people found was that in addition to the factory shield, the room itself will be shielded with a special design. And with that shielding and the factory shielding, and still the cost had to be competitive and lower because they also bought on L1 and T1. So we did that and we won that order. So that was the first demonstration of nothing is impossible through an innovative solution. The second example was at a hospital in Trivandrum called SCT, the Sri Chitra Tirunal Hospital. It's a government hospital of Department of Science and Technology. It is very highly reputed again for its clean and transparent way of operation. And so we said that let us try and win this second prospect. So there the challenge was that they also wanted the most powerful magnet, and which meant that that would weigh between 12 and 15 tons. And that would come cold at minus 269 degrees. It would be shipped from US. And by the time the plane would bring it, already the helium would have boiled off some 30-40%. And very quickly it had to be taken to site, installed, and further helium injected. Now, the problem in Trivandrum was that the Trivandrum airport could not take a jumbo freighter which could bring this MR. So it had to be brought to Madras, and from Madras, 700 kilometers, it has to be brought to Trivandrum. And in the tropical south, obviously the helium will boil off, and that is why competition was staying away, saying that this site is having a lot of problems. So again, we took on the challenge that what can we do? So Sahu and his team brainstormed that is there any past instance of such a thing, a solution has been found? There was no past instance. Then they said, is there any other industry in which such a thing has been done? And they found that ISRO assembles rockets in Trivandrum, and those rockets use helium, which is cryogenic fuel in the rocket fuel. But it is launched from Sriharikota on the east coast, which is 1,000 kilometers away. And that also weighs about 10 to 15 tons. And they had to transport this rocket from Trivandrum to Sriharikota. So they had the same problem that, a rocket launch is not something which is highly sensitive equipment it has got. And it takes months and months to build that. And, you cannot have that not working when it reaches Sriharikota. So they had imported a Russian trailer, which had a shock-proof bed on which you can keep any equipment and it can go on any rough road. And nothing happens to that equipment. And second, it was a huge trailer with 32 wheels. And there was only one such trailer in the country. And our team persuaded ISRO to loan it for 2 weeks to bring this SCT MR from Chennai. And the team also negotiated with the Civil Aviation Ministry that when the US magnet comes, at Chennai airport, the helium will be filled on the tarmac. It's so difficult to deal with government agencies which which have their own priorities. There is no reason why they should cooperate. So again, it was a success. So the news that Wipro G has been able to overcome huge technical challenges and install these two sites and similar sites where we work, created a great confidence in the Indian customer that these people have the technical capability to take challenges and make it work. And it also created confidence in G that these people are able to win. But of course, it was not a market where it was not the customer group which was having ethical issues and problems. So when we saw that, okay, even if we win 50% of the ethical prospects, our market share will not go beyond 10%, which means we cannot become number two. And so we thought that, okay, if we are going to bang our head on entrenched competition in metros and still we are unable to become a leader, what else we can do? So we started looking at tier 3, tier 4 cities. So tier 3, tier 4 cities, fortunately, there were a lot of patients, but there were no hospitals or entrepreneurs who could overcome the challenges of establishing. I'm talking of early 90s when Ahmedabad or Bhopal or cities like that, they had the patient load, but they could not overcome the problems. The first problem was that the number of patients which are concentrated in metro is more. The number of patients spread out in 10 tier 2, tier 3 cities is less per city. So they had to buy the high-tech scanners at a lower cost. And people would not sell to them at lower cost. We were willing to sell to them at 10-15% less. But they felt that the risk is too high. They have to reduce the price per scan. And to reduce the price per scan, the CT MR rooms for them must be 50% less in investment cost. So when we looked at, obviously, we could not reduce our price by 50%. So when we looked at more deeply, we saw that what was costing so much of money to hospitals was that these equipment were large. This equipment could not be fitted in existing space. And so the hospital or diagnostic center had to establish an additional room, an additional facility, and to construct that building and furnish it with air conditioning and electrical and all those things. It cost a lot of money. And it took nearly 1 year to build that. So what we thought was that if we can get small footprint MRs and CTs, which still have the same clinical output, can we locate it in the existing hospital itself without making them go to the new site? So we found that in the portfolio of G, such equipment were available in Japan. So we looked at locating this small footprint equipment in these hospitals in existing areas. But that meant that we had to understand the workflow, run old process, new process, renovate the whole place, and do it all very fast. So we created a group of medical experts and civil engineers who could do this job and created these facilities within this existing hospital. The second challenge these people faced was that they could not get bank finance. The banks would finance medical equipment on security-based financing or collaterals. Collaterals, personal guarantees were more important to bank than investment viability itself. So we tried to convince the banks, look here, out of the various prospects, these are, some 25% of the prospects who, if we invest and give the G, MR or CT, they are viable. They will earn enough surplus from patient income from which they will repay the installment. There is no risk of that nature, but they would not budge. So we went to non-banking financial companies like Bajaj Finance and Shriram Finance, etc. And they were more amenable to do this type of financing. And while the banks took 10 months to 1 year to give a loan, non-banking financial institutions, based on our viability analysis, could sanction and disburse the loan in 1 month. So compared to 1 year required to establish the scanners which hurt the viability of the equipment and the high price, we were able to come up with a business solution for this segment where the investment cost was half. The time required to get the first patient in was 1/4. And so with that speed of business, the entrepreneurs, both doctors and hospitals, could install. And we got many orders on this model. And so what was the real stuff behind this? Is that when we could not break into an entrenched market, we were going and creating a new market. And we were going and creating a new solution, which was not there before. So creating new markets through innovation is very important for any late entrant to break into a market and get in. And so when we did this, we found that, we could, in the very first year itself, make many success. And this success gave GE the confidence, and they declared the India unit as the best joint venture in Asia. And they were very enthusiastic. The customers were very enthusiastic because another thing which was very important was that this tier 2, tier 3 hospitals and customers had to completely depend on GE to get a design of the room, to get a small footprint equipment, to get the viability analysis, to get the finance, through the financial institution. So GE had to handhold from step 1 to step N with them. And so with that handholding, they became dependent on GE. And then GE could set the rules of the game. See, well, competition had set the rules of the game in metros. We set the rules of the game in interior India, where we told customers that unless the transaction is transparent and ethical, we will not sell to you. So we could pick and choose customers and prospects and win. And that is the way, ethically, we were able to demonstrate that it's possible to win ethically if you do not focus only on the entrenched market, but you go and create a new market segment. So having accomplished this was also, a similar problem in other countries of Asia, and GE took these examples to other Asian countries where similar problems were there and used it. So the next part of conquering the market in tier 2, tier 3 cities was to further reduce the scanner cost so that more tier 3 customers can buy. So through local manufacture, we could reduce another 20%. So making a successful local manufacturer of these sophisticated scanners was very important. And I don't know whether you can recall in those days, or even today it may be the same case, is that if you want to buy technology, you have to pay a technology transfer fee. And then you have to have some phased manufacturing program where you localize, bring down the cost, and then, you build the volume. And the overseas company will give you design drawings, jigs, fixtures, SOPs, testing methods, and all that. So the basic competence this model would build is manufacturing competence. They would not truly transfer technology. What it meant was that you could launch product 1, but when that product becomes old and you have to launch the next product, you have to go back and pay another technology fees. And the country would be continuously dependent on these overseas partners. So we wanted that, we'll pay technology fees, but we want core technology. Core technology of these medical equipment lies in what's called an X-ray tube or a CT tube, and a detector and a display. These are 3 vital elements of the technology. And GE Japan was the partner from whom we were getting the technology. When we talked to them, they said that they themselves don't have the X-ray tube and detector technology. And those are crown jewels, which are with GE in US. and they won't part with anybody. And so we asked them, what do you have? We have display technology there too. So disappointed, but we said, okay, let us go and get the display technology at least in the first round. And when we went to get the display technology in Japan, we found it was not there in the Japanese company. It was there in their supplier. So now we have to convince the Japanese partner, GE Japan, to persuade their supplier to transfer technology to India for this product. And they were skeptical, but they said, okay, we'll go and see once. And they saw our whatever we were doing, and they said that you don't have the capability to make this because you have never made monitors. So, we felt what to do now. So we had to find a monitor company which was doing CAD-CAM monitors in Bangalore called VXL Monitors. And then we had to go and sell to them. We had to start making medical monitors, will guarantee orders. And then to do medical monitors, you take technology from the Japanese company. Now, so it worked. They gave technology finally, and VXL Monitors made the monitors, and we used them. So again, when you're faced with what is considered impossible, to innovate business models, to innovate a different way of doing business, and then have the wherewithal to convince a whole set of new stakeholders to make it work, is innovation. And without that, you will not be able to scale the challenges. So, having done this, we were eminently successful. We could go to tier 3 cities. We could bring the product cost down. One more thing I want to tell you is that in this technology transfer model, the product cost has to be reduced. For example, a product life is 5 years. You have to reduce the product cost every year by 10%. Only then, as your product is getting old, you'll still be able to sell and make money. If you cannot do that, then your product life cycle will be reduced from 5 years to 3 years or something, and you cannot recover the investment you have made. So we had to learn how to do this from Japan. We had to work with suppliers, we had to work within increased productivity, do localization, and do all that, and learn those tricks of the trade. When we were focused so much on reducing the product cost, our field team told, when we asked them, how is it going, and have you spread the word that these new products are going to come out from the factory? They told them, but you are internally focused on those things, but what the doctors are asking is 2 questions. One is the image quality through which they diagnose patients. Is it as good as the Japanese product? Second, the Japanese product never failed. Will your product be as reliable as the Japanese product? And not fail during warranty. And they were expecting that the product should not fail during 2-3 years. And if product you use for 5 years, at best it will fail once or twice. So for this, we did not have the answer. How do we had the answer for image quality. We were 100% confident we'll deliver this diagnosis excellence. But we were not clear about the reliability, how to build it. So we went back to the drawing board, asked the Japanese, and Japanese said that there is a lot of issues in reliability engineering, like failure mode analysis, latent failures which take place in parts, and how to track them, how to solve them, and all that. They were willing to teach us those things, and they would put it in those tricks in a green book, like an SOP book. If you follow these steps, the product will be more reliable. But they also told that there is a black book which we will not be able to easily share with you. What is this black book? They said when you are in a business for 10 years, looking at how equipment work and fail, you gain a certain insight. With that insight, you take certain steps to design products. That comes from cumulative experience of many years. And that is not easy to transfer. So we thought that we have to promise the Indian customer Japanese reliability. And without that, we will not be justified in asking for them to buy our product. So if we were unable to be convinced that all the tricks in the black book is also given to us, we thought of another method. We convinced the GE Japan that our product cost is 20% less than yours. See, at that time, GE Japan was manufacturing the same models for the world, and we were manufacturing them only for India. So we told them that if you take the lower cost parts from India and incorporate in your manufacturing line for the world, then you will be able to reduce the cost. You will get big benefit. So they bit that offer which we gave. And the real purpose of that was that they would not incorporate any part unless they were 100% sure that the reliability of those parts was as good as Japan. So when they agreed to incorporate these parts, they taught us everything how to build reliability in those parts as good as Japan. And again, this is business model innovation. This is not just product innovation or some innovation of some process or anything like that, but thinking beyond the ordinary and doing this thing is what made us successful. And within 3 years, we became number 2 in the marketplace. And when this happened, we had CFOs. We have some CFOs here. So the CFOs of our company told that, okay, we are growing well and all that, but we will not be profitable in year 3. So, the numbers were crunched in several ways to find out, can we be profitable? Because the global CEO, Trani, had given a stretch target to me that not only you must become number 1 or number 2, but try to do it profitably. Now, there was no way, whatever we did in the existing business portfolio, they could not get. So then we thought that, okay, India is good in software. Can we do some software work for GE? And we were doing some software work in engineering software because we knew the product, but not commercial software. There was an opportunity in GE Medical Asia to develop a service system for Asia. And that service system they were buying from IBM, Singapore for $2 million. So if we got that order and we made money like software companies make, then we would be profitable. So we went and tried to convince, and those people told that you have not developed any commercial software package. How can we give the order to you? Not only that, we want the software to be commissioned within 18 months in 3 countries in Asia. And you should develop it, you should deploy it. Can you really do it in 18 months? So, when we came back, we realized that the model in which commercial software was developed for overseas computers, for the overseas companies, was that if that company used a DEC or digital or DEC or DG or IBM platform, that same model of computer was imported to India. A software team was put together to develop the package on that computer. And then package was taken and deployed on the customer's computer. And to get that computer imported, it took 9 months to 1 year from Government of India. And then we were left with only 6 months to develop and take it. So then the challenge was thrown to that team that can you develop a package without a computer? People laughed at the leadership. How can you develop a computer package without a computer? So we looked at, has anybody developed? The only company which I developed was Texas Instruments, which had a unit in Bangalore, but they had a direct satellite connection. So whatever work they did via satellite, they would send it to Texas. And other than that, there was nobody. So we talked to them, there is many of you may be familiar, STPI, Software Technology Parks of India. They had some technical capability, but they also said, no, it cannot be done. Then we talked to VSNL. VSNL was a government organization then. They were giving the leased data lines for computers. So they, after some brainstorming, told that if you put a leased line from Bangalore to Chennai, they will rent the subsea cable from Chennai to Singapore, and they will negotiate with Singtel from Singapore port to the GE computer in Singapore, and we can use that capacity. So we put that and made it and delivered it. And we were the first. Nobody had done this in the computer and software industry. And even Premji was stunned. How did you develop a software package without a computer? And so that is the type of mindset which drives innovation. When you say that I have got this aspirational goal, I have to do this, and I have to do it the right, royal, ethical way. Then to start thinking out of the box. Then you push your team to make things happen. And if you rightly motivate, it's possible to do the impossible. And so with that, we became profitable. So not only we became number one, number two, but we also did that instead of 5 years in 3 years, and we did it profitably. So this gave tremendous confidence in GE. So immediately they transferred the models which were being done for the global market in Japan to Bangalore. They said, you guys do it. With that, we learned a lot how to do export business in medical technology. And that gave some extra life to the product because larger the volume, the product cost becomes less. When you have export volume, it cuts the product cost because you're spreading your fixed investment over big volume. So when all this happened, we were very happy, but the end of life of this model was coming. The next model, we did not have neither the technology nor the engineering capability to produce the next model from India. And we wanted to design the product in India for the Indian needs. And such product, basically the specification of the product in simple terms was that the best product we were selling, best scanner we were selling, we wanted those features in a much smaller product, much smaller footprint at half the cost. We had to put technology, we had to put portability, so many things and design the product, but we did not have the engineering skills. So I was promoted. I was head of strategy and quality in Asia. And I was on the board of GE Japan. I was on the board of GE Korea, board of GE China, where all these equipment were made. And we had a meeting of strategy, how to produce these medical technology products globally within GE, where I was also invited to participate as Asia representative. And the strategy chosen was that you design the product and manufacture the product where the biggest market is for that segment. And the product segments are broken into three. Premium segment at top. That was to be made, biggest market for that was in US. That was to be made, engineered and made in US. Then there was the mid-range product, engineer and make it in Japan. Now there was the economy segment. Only three segments were there. Economy segment, they gave a choice that Asia can make it in either Korea, China, or India. I was the head of technology strategy and I knew where the capabilities are. And the best capability was in Korea, not in India. So India could not get the chance and I had to recommend Korea and Korea got the chance. Now still, the nationalism is important wherever you work. India ki chala gaya chance. So I argued in that meeting that the price point at which Korean customers can buy is quite high. The society is much more developed. Their per capita incomes are high. So the specs are not so much suitable for India. So I told them that we would like to design a product which is lower in specs and lower in cost, which meets Indian requirement, which allows us to take the product to tier 4 cities in India. Now, we debated for some time and they said, okay, you can do it, but there is no global budget for you. $80 million was allocated to US, $60 million to Japan, $20 million to Korea. They say budget is over. And to make such a product, you require $8 to $10 million. If $8 to $10 million you can find from Indian profit, go ahead and make it. Our total profit $2 million, $3 million. How can we mobilize $8 million? So, but the passion of the team was so high, they said, Prasanna sir, please take the challenge. We'll see what we can do. So we took the challenge and produced, then when we took the challenge, GE was skeptical. But I told them that, we are going to try very hard. You don't be skeptical. If you're skeptical, things will fail. You encourage us. So they said, okay, we'll give you all the encouragement, we'll give you all the support. And that product was designed in India. And when it was launched in India, it was a huge success. And then it was also suitable for the global market. It was exported out of India. That was the only scanner which sold 30,000 units for 1,000 crores revenue. and we had developed that product in $1.5 million versus $8 million expected globally. And that was frugal innovation. So frugal innovation is not jugaadbaji. Frugal innovation is thinking of solutions which are suitable for the market and then pushing your envelope very hard and making it work. So when this succeeded, GE started having confidence in the Indian engineers that we can do things at a much smaller budget in the life. And by then, from $4 million, we had grown to $40 million. And we were number 2 in the marketplace. And what we thought was that we were part of a $4 billion company. And $40 million was 1%. We felt that if we were a 1% component of a global company, we will not be taken seriously. If the 1% is profitable, not profitable, if it succeeds, fails, will not move the needle for the $4 billion company. So now we set our own aspirational goal. We said, now it was 1996, we said by 2000, from $40 million, we should become a $200 million company. So 5% of GE. Then if we're smart and strategic and we contribute, then we will be able to get a seat at the high table of strategy within GE. And that is the target we set for ourselves. So again, setting aspirational targets is very important. And if you set aspirational targets and charge the team, nothing is impossible. So the whole team started looking at what are the opportunities in the global GE scene we can grab. We could not do much, but GE also threw one challenge that these technology components which you have been asking, which we are not able to want to give it to you as crown jewels, now we are having shortage of capacity in US. Now, can you find a supplier in India, or can you make those low-end tubes in India? So we did not have technology, we did not have process engineering, nothing we had. And we searched these, anyone else in India can do it. And it was Bharat Electronics. The government of India defense undertaking, you know how tough it is to move the needle there. So we told them that, we will get you a pilot order for making this technology item. If you do it well to the target price and to the target quality, there is a chance that you will get much, much more export orders. They were very serious. They delivered that $1 million order at 50% less cost than US and in a short time. So then GE opened its eyes and said that we want to have a joint venture with Bell. Because we don't want to part technology to just a supplier. We want to part technology to a company in which there was some control. So we negotiated and signed a joint venture agreement with Bell. And after signing the joint venture agreement, Bell told that it will take them 2 years to get Department of Defense production permission to start the joint venture. So GE told us, come on here, we broke all rules and gave the technology to a supplier in India. And now you're saying 2 years, we won't get any benefit. So again, we had to put on the thinking cap. We told Bell that we will establish a 100% GE-owned export-oriented unit inside their factory. And they would supply all the parts and things like that. We make there. If they cannot get in 2 years the permission, we take that unit out and it will be 100% export-oriented unit elsewhere. But if they succeed, we will do a joint venture. And they succeeded. And we gave the equity partnership to them. And it became a crown jewel. The GE Bell as a joint venture became a crown jewel in the portfolio of manufacturing factories of GE. And they did phenomenal. Both Wipro GE for this ultrasound got the National R&D Award, the Technology Export Award. Similarly, Bell got Technology Export Award. And the next opportunity, so why it was important to make these items was that a CT scanner every year requires 3-4 tubes. CT scanner cost is, say, 1.5-2 crores. This tube cost is 25 lakhs per tube, which means 1 crore per year less per consumable. So the viability over product life cycle of customers, we wanted to improve. By making this tube in India at half the cost and selling at half the price to the Indian customer, we could improve the viability of the Indian customer. So if our customers won, we won. So we could go deeper into the market and gain the market further. Now, the next challenge which was available in GE was that GE was making, now GE started looking at whether India can be part of some challenges they were having. First challenge was shortage of capacity for these tubes in US, which GE Bell was created. Now they had another challenge that they had a fantastic surgical equipment, X-ray. It was highly wanted by customers all over the world, but it was made in Belgium in a highly unionized factory. It was not profitable. So the challenge thrown at us was that, can you transfer the product to Pune? We had a small factory in Pune which is also unionized. Can you transfer the product in Pune and make it at half the cost and deliver it in half the time to the customer? Now, obviously, by that time, we were used to taking on challenges and we wanted to be $200 million company. So we took the challenge and constituted a team and sent the team for 4 people to Belgium. And when they went to Belgium, they were in the conference room looking at 3-4 days stay and getting all the design drawings and technology from there. Then suddenly the general manager of Belgium factory told them, "You run." They have come for 4 days to take the technology design drawing. Why are you asking us to run? He said, "No, the union fellows are coming to beat you." So our fellows gathered the laptop, their bag, and ran. Not only from the factory, they ran from Belgium to Netherlands without looking back. The next day, newspaper, they read that the conference room was damaged. Some 10 cars were smashed in the parking lot. And those guys were looking for Indians who are coming to steal our jobs. So now GE asked, "Okay, now you don't have any drawings and designs, but we will give you some service drawings and designs. Can you make the product and still give it to us?" So, it was impossible. How with service drawings and documentation, you can make a product, reliable product? But our team then posed a question to GE that, "Will you allow us to reverse engineer?" The Western companies are extremely nervous about IP and IP reverse engineering being lost through IP and IP being lost through reverse engineering. So we didn't expect that they will agree. But we convinced them that as an internal GE company, you please give it. There is no risk, nothing will happen. So they gave it. And that team delivered on those strategic goals which were set by GE. And the Belgium plant was closed. And all the products from there was transferred to India. And not only that, GE told that, "Look, here, this union problem, you are also having in Pune. Now, today you may be able to manage it, but 5 years from today, you may not be able to manage. So why don't we consolidate capacity in Bangalore, manufacturing capacity in Bangalore? So you shut down Pune and transfer the manufacturing capacity to Bangalore." And so we had to design a fantastic VRS scheme and convince every employee there to take that. And they took it, and the factory was closed in Pune also, and the manufacturing shifted to Bangalore. Now, with these types of taking on challenges and making them work, the market for these products in India grew because they used to import it at a high cost. Now it's available at half the cost. So that is how we went on to become a 200 million company by 2000. And GE was very pleased. And GE converted the Indian operation from a local company serving local market to a global company serving global market. And with the engineering and software capability which we had demonstrated, they opened the Jack Welch Technology Center, appointed 10,000 engineers for all their business on the confidence Jack Welch and others had gained. So this is the story I wanted to share with you in terms of how a market can be built, how a leadership can be built. Now, I have another 15 minutes to tell you how how do you build such innovative culture in any company? so that it's not just I gave you the story of G, which is very nice to hear, but my whole purpose is to give you ideas as to how it can be implemented in any company. So the first and foremost thing for a leader in any Indian company is that that leader must set aspirational goals. If you don't set aspirational goals, but if you set incremental goals, you will get incremental opening of the brain. If you want a completely radical opening of ideas and solutions, you have to set aspirational goals. But aspirational goals you cannot set for 1 year. It has to be 4 or 5 years ahead. So that people don't even attempt if you just put an aspirational goal of 1 year. And then you as a leader and leadership team should have some roadmap to get there and financially responsibly keep on achieving every step and make investments. You cannot be just wild saying that, I have an aspirational goal, I will go and do whatever you want. Then what it does is that what's happening is startup. Growth at any cost. That won't work. You cannot sustain a business with growth at any cost. You have to do it responsibly. Second is that you should get extraordinary performance from ordinary people. that is the mantra. How do you get extraordinary performance from ordinary people? It's very easy to say, but I can break it down for you into 4 or 5 steps. First is that you must clearly communicate the mission to all employees so that everyone knows what are we trying to do. Second, you must develop a competitive mindset in employees. Competitive mindset, means benchmarking. See, most companies, 80% of the employees are internally focused. They try to do an excellent job inside, but they don't compare themselves that which is the other excellent company in the marketplace which does better than us. But benchmarking opens their eyes. So competitive benchmarking is extremely important to be done by your own employees, not by some Bain's Consulting or somebody do and give it to you. Because then they go and ask the question and find out a lot of things they learn. And you give targets to your employees. With the target, please give stretch goals. But don't shoot them if they don't achieve the stretch goal, but if they achieve the target. Because stretch goal again opens the mind and makes them innovate. The fourth thing is that you have to build self-confidence. When you say ordinary people, I'm saying that how do you instill in them that they can do super things? I want to give you the example of myself. For example, as a leader, all the time I was practicing this, and people would wonder how I am having the self-confidence not coming from the medical technology industry, but still setting such goals and making the company achieve. So when I was working in Ahmedabad before joining IIM, I was working in ONGC. In ONGC, I was getting highly specialized. And I could not get a job in any other sector after some time. I was an oil well driller. So my good old friend from engineering college and IIT Kanpur was Narayan Murthy, who was in Azad Society working for IIM. So I used to meet him. We used to meet each other every week, at least twice. So Narayan Murthy told that, look here, if you have this problem, in those days there was no vocabulary called lateral movement and all that. So he just told that, why don't you join IIM? If you join IIM, it will open more opportunities outside drilling. You may be able to do better. So I told that, look here, IIM is competed with the best in the country. And, coming from some unknown engineering college in Mysore, I don't think I'll be able to get admission into IIM. But, he pushed me and he persuaded me, have some confidence in yourself. You understand what the whole process of IIM selection is. That what this CAT test is, what the group discussion is, how to perform best in those. And I got the seat in IIM. And then, I was somehow under the wrong impression that the scholarship in IIM will be given on the basis of your rank in CAT or whatever. I realized that scholarship is given at the end of 1 year. So for 1 year, I had to work without any money, and there was no earning member in my family. They were depending on, I was getting 1,000 rupees in ONGC and I could spend 400 rupees home. Now, without that, I had to go and join IIM. It was a huge risk. So I told Narayan Murthy, I'm not joining IIM. So he was very angry with me. He said, why? I explained to him the situation and he said, have a confidence in yourself. Why are you saying you cannot compete with St. Stephen's and IIT Delhi and IIT Bombay and all that? You work hard, you apply your mind, and there's a good chance that you will get the scholarship. So much against my own self-conviction, I joined IIM, and in a class of 140, there were only 8 scholarships. In those days, 8 industrial scholarships. And I ranked among the top 8, got the scholarship. Now, why I'm relating this to you is that you have to believe in yourself. If you as a leader don't believe in your own capability in yourself, that you can take on big challenges, you cannot expect your team to believe that they can take big challenges. So the other thing I told you is that frugal innovation. Build runway with available resources. Frugal innovation is not jugaad baji. Jugaad baji is applying telephone tape for something broken till you go to the final solution. Innovation, frugal innovation is to make products and services with very little resources using innovation. And again, frugal innovation, C.K. Prahlad and so many other people have written. There's much written about it. I'm not going to talk or repeat any of those because published literature is available. It is possible to instill the sense of frugal innovation in your team. The last item I would recommend is that you must engage the family. See, doing stretch goals and doing something impossible requires a lot of hard work. And if a lot of hard work is put in, it has to be put in by the employee. If the spouse is not supportive, they will never be able to put it. So this must be understood by the organization, that unless the spouse has pride in the company where the partner is working, the work-life balance issue will come at breakfast table and dinner every day. And the company will be made a villain. Company is coming between the family and its own performance and slave driving my partner. So when that type of mindset comes, the fellow or the girl will not put in 200%. And you want your employees to put not 200% hours, but to strive to give 200% output, maybe 25-30% extra hours. To get that, you have to instill the sense that the spouse is working for a good company. How do you instill it? First of all, as much as you convey your goals, as much as you convey your performance to employees, please convey it to family. How do you convey it? All companies have an annual day. In the annual day, you announce the results of the previous year, high performance of the previous year, which led to those high results, reward them. Similarly, you announce what is the plan, what is the aspiration of the company going forward, and the family members are not dumb. You have to convince in simple English and simple terms. If you do that, they at least understand what the company is trying to do. And then when you announce rewards, you must put your ear to the sound of the claps. If the sound of the claps is very passive, hardly anybody is clapping when somebody is being rewarded, that means that the reward system in the company is not objective, is not rational. And, किसी का friend है, ये है, वो है, उसको without merit some award मिल रहा है. It's extremely important for the family to know that rewards are based on merit. And my spouse, if he puts that extra hours, there's a good chance, he or she has a good chance to win rewards. Then also, the family has to understand that you're trying for big things, you're trying for excellence. So, you cannot simply say that we're trying for excellence. That don't cut ice. So you have entertainment in these annual days. So this entertainment, how you conduct, has message. We used to invite Rajiv Taranath, Hari Prasad Chaurasia, Pratima Bedi to dance the the best actor to act in drama, national level. When employees and family heard this entertainment, they got an indirect message that company supports top performing excellence in every field. Not only that, those were iconic figures in the global field in those instruments or whatever it is. So that the company is striving for global excellence and Indians can achieve it. So in the family, you have to create a pride in the company and a pride in India. That India is no second level country. It has the ability to do it. So these are the ingredients of building an innovative culture where any company can do it. The next one is mentoring. It is the job of leadership to mentor. And mentoring is not just calling somebody and giving a big lecture. At the end of it, he feels that he has been given a memo or he has been fired, counseled and all that. And he will go back with a swollen face. The way you mentor is that you demonstrate through your action. You become a role model in what you're trying to convey. But I want to give you some example of telco when I was working. Mulgaonkar was the chairman. Now, Mulgaonkar, vice chairman. Mulgaonkar used to come to Pune, where the new telco factory was being built once a month. And in his agenda, there would be 1 hour allocated, one full day agenda, 1 hour will be allocated for greening of the campus. So, any item would remain undiscussed, but not this last item of greening of the campus. So he would discuss, and he had hired one fellow called Sharmaji from Bangalore who had greened Lalbagh. And Sharmaji would get full attention with all the top management of the Pune. And in one meeting, Sharmaji complained. Some huge building is being built, knocking off some 5 60-year-old trees. Now, if you want to green the campus, how can you knock off 6, 7 huge trees? So can you ask the guys who are building the factory to relocate that building? Now, everyone said, no way it can be relocated. So then Mulgaonkar said that, ask Sharmaji, then what is the other way? If we, instead of relocating the plant, can we relocate the trees? And you nurture and take care of them around the periphery of the plot. So Sharmaji told that, I know how to make them live when it is planted in the second place, but I don't know how to take the 60-year-old trees from the ground and take it. So he told that team which was building the factory and which was making special purpose machines, guys, I'm changing your priority. Your number one priority is that design a tree extractor and give it to Sharmaji to pull out those trees and put it there. Now he came after, 4 or 5 months and the trees were all nicely planted outside. And then he said that, somehow I feel that there is a lot of rocky area here. We need to have a water body. So he got implemented water harvesting in 1975 when it was not common practice and created a lake. Now, after a beautiful lake was created in the factory, and then when he came, another 3-4 months later, he said, good water is there, but where are the birds? So there were no birds. So people had no answer, including Sharmaji. So he said, I know one Salim Ali, who is a ornithologist, and let us call him. So again, Salim Ali came and told that, on these trees, you may not be able to get the birds, the local birds, but you may be able to get migratory birds if you hang certain, cages. So he told the team again that you please design that nest in which this can be put. And they designed the nest and hung it on the tree and birds came. So what I'm telling you is that mentoring and role modeling is walking the talk. If you believe in greening a facility, you go all the way. And then, that's how whatever facilities I build were all green because I respected Mulgaonkar and so much. The last point in building this culture is that you must engage employees in some social work. See, now at least you've got CSR. When you engage the employee in social work, employee and his family in social work, it de-stresses them It is in a different environment. It is with the spouse and children. So when you do that, their mind opens up of contributing something to society. So these are some things if a company does, definitely it can do the impossible. It can innovate. It can win the Indian market and take those solutions to the global market. Thank you.